You ready, Chatri? Austin and Lazy, you guys ready? You guys ready to go?
I guess.
Good.
Yeah, right.
Okay, the chaos begins. Good day, you bleeders. Welcome to episode 70 of the Weekend Roundup. The UFC was kind enough to keep us out of the Apex, but they did drag us across the entire world to the land down under, all the way to Perth in Western Australia. It was a card that excited the Aussie fans so much that apparently you could get tickets on the day for about $50. US fans were complaining about the 7 p.m. Eastern start time, and for those of us across the pond, it was midnight before Thainara danced her way to the cage for the first fight. For the Aussies, it was time to crack out their favourite breakfast beer, and it's now time for us to talk some fights. I'm your host, DangerMouse, and I'm joined, as always, by my two transatlantic pals, LazyBed and Austin, and we'll hear from them in just a moment when we get on with the main event from the card. First, just a reminder to like, subscribe, and ring the bell. Leave a comment, help us get to 200 subscribers, and when we get there, I've promised to stop bugging you, at least for a little while. All right, let's get on with the main event. At light heavyweight, we saw Carlos Ulberg on an 8-fight winning streak step into the cage against one-time titled contender, the man who many people thought had plucked the duck, a man on a 3-fight win streak, Dominic Reyes. With Ulberg ranked at 3 for the title shot, and with the belt being fought for next week, would we see Ulberg hang on to his position, or could Reyes beat him and get another crack at the light heavyweight strap? This was a really, really tough fight to pick. At one point on Topology, it was genuinely 50-50, as it was with the crew here. Turned out not to be a tough fight for Ulberg to win, though. He looked in control from the off, despite the two guys being pretty much the same height and the same reach. He looked a bigger guy, and he figured out his range very, very quickly. He was leaning out the way of Reyes' head kick attempts, slipping punches, and when he threw his own, he made sure to slide off the centre line, and that's exactly what he did when he landed a peach of a left hook and turned Reyes' lights out. So go on, Lazy, you join me in picking the winner in this fight. Winners go first. I guess what did you think of the fight? Do you think that whoever wins next week should face Ulberg next?
Well, what did I think of the fight? Well, the fact that the odds were so, or I guess not the odds, but the people, the public were so split on this fight, and there were so many people picking Reyes. That was shocking to me. I didn't really understand that, unless it's more of like an emotional pick and a picking with your heart kind of a thing. But if you were picking with your head in this fight, how did you not pick Carlos Ulberg? I don't know what came over so many people, like where we forgot that Dominic Reyes was getting repeatedly chinned, like multiple fights in a row. He was getting badly, brutally KO'd, and just because he strung together, a couple of wins over some less than stellar opposition, I don't think that that's quite enough reason to have warranted all the people that were selecting him. So yeah, I think I get the emotional aspect of people wanting to pick Dom. And I get the hopes for him. Not that he's not a talented fighter, and not that Carlos Ulberg is really that phenomenal of a fighter. I just think that at the points in their careers that they're at, the trajectories that they're on, it's just pretty clear how this one was going to end. Carlos Ulberg, the faster fighter, hits hard. And that's really all it takes at this point with Dom Reyes. All you got to do is touch and test his chin. The common denominator amongst his last 3 wins was none of those guys really touched and tested that chin as it had been prior to that. And, Ulberg, having the reflexes that he does, was able to connect and put him down. And, I hate to retire a guy, but if I'm Dom Reyes, I'm stopping to think about some things, man. You've had your doubts in the past. That's why he's bounced around the different gyms. He went soul searching, looking for better coaching during that losing streak. Found himself back at home with his relatively small gym that he trains out of. I believe it's in Victorville, California. But it's just, you've been through a lot. You've taken some hellacious blows and some very bad head trauma throughout your career. And I just don't want to see it get any worse for him. I don't want to see history repeat itself. So for as much as people like him, I'm like him to stick around. I worry about the guy's health long term, and you know. Anyway, that's a whole other topic. But Carlos Ulberg, nice win, and does he get the winner of next week's bout? I'm not so sure. I think he might be hanging around for a possible title shot because if Yuri wins against Jamal, I mean, like if Yuri wins against Khalil, and then Alex happens to beat Ankalaev, they're not going to want to do Yuri versus Alex again. So that gives a guy like a Carlos Ulberg a chance. So I think he maybe hangs around. I don't know what they do with him after that if it doesn't pan out that way, but yeah.
Yeah, I would advise him to hang around and wait. But anyway, I guess that just leaves us with Austin, who did not pick Ulberg. So let's hear why he picked him. I did want to ask if it's time to Reyes to hang up the gloves, but he is only 35. But I can't see him getting another sniff of another title shot now. So do you have any fun fights for him, Austin, seeing as you were the only one who had faith in him? Was it because of his American-Mexican heritage? Am I profiling? Am I profiling you?
A little bit, but no. I mean, so to Lazy's point of I hate you not understanding the reason why people were kind of split on it is because Ulberg hadn't really had the best showing in his last one or two fights, and in this sport we do generalize performances with the light with the ability of the fighter. So, you're only as good as your last fight, right? And Ulberg had not looked great. Not because he wasn't good, but because he just didn't have great performances against decent competition. And it was kind of one of those things where you kind of looked at who he fought and you didn't think, well, okay, he's not old, but he's not young. And he had been starching people left and right and center. And he hasn't really had too many super difficult fights until just recently. And even then, it was like, yeah, he was in control, but he wasn't like outright brutalizing his opponent. He was just beating them. And I, Volkan Ozdemir was one, and I think there was another. But like to your point, Lazy, it's like, yeah, no, if you paid attention, Reyes definitely had the easier road getting here. It wasn't, he kind of just like found his way into all three wins, by virtue of being the guy who, tagged first and didn't let his opponent back into the fight. Great. Ulberg basically was struggling against higher level competition. And that always tells you if he's struggling against better guys and still winning, that says something about where he's at in his career. He's still better and he's on paper better. But unfortunately, we had me included, we kind of like wanted to believe in the hype that a guy in Reyes was going to have one more crack at the title, just one more, man, because there's not a whole lot of fucking feel good stories in this sport, especially as of late. So leave it to me to be like, oh, for fuck's sake, let Dom get it. Come on, Dom, you got this. You got one more shot. Fuck it, kill this fucking Kiwi. But unfortunately, he got killed by the Kiwi and with very, very little resistance. And I mean, hell, when Reyes was, kind of like throwing out some, strikes and Ulberg was kind of watching him throwing back and countering, you can see Ulberg basically pinning the exact moment that he knew he could drag Reyes out long enough in a combination and encounter. You can see him setting it up. He didn't really want to do him much else, and that was fine. And Reyes didn't really see it. He just kind of looked at it like, okay, we're just kind of pitter-pattering until we get to the later part of the fight because we got 5 rounds. Except he forgot he's not the better striker. Those 3 reigns gave him false impressions of being the better combatant between the two of them. And as far as Reyes' career after this, I'm not going to say he should, but I'm not going to tell him to continue. I would like him to have at least 1 or 2 more fights at a bare minimum against lower level competition. Someone with like, I don't know, let's say Johnny Walker. I don't know. Like I guarantee he's already lost, or who hasn't fought somebody that he's already beat in this division, or light heavyweight's kind of a dumpster fire a little bit, not nearly as bad as heavyweight, but still, you kind of mix and match him and he'll be fine. I would just like him to get a Sendome fight inside of California at some point, within the near future. Hopefully he gets one in one of the new cards that we're going to get from the Paramount deal, but doesn't matter who. He's not going to fight for a title anytime soon, and it was unfortunate because I was really hoping that he'd pull it out this weekend, but that's not the case. Congrats to Ulberg, but this is where it is.
That's what I was actually going to ask you is if he does stick around for one more, you want it to be a send-off fight, like you want it to be home state, California, somebody that he could, not somebody that he's set up to beat, but somebody that gives him a good chance at winning. So like, you still want him to retire even after one more.
The problem is he's still ranked at 7.
Yeah, but
they're not going to give him a 25th ranked fighter, are they?
No,
I mean, you can. It's the UFC's discretion. They've done it before. It's not out of order for them to give him a lower ranked guy or a non-ranked guy, or even a guy who's on the outs. Like Alexander Rakic, he's 0-3, right, in his last couple fights. So that's a good one. Or somebody. There's names you can give him. Somebody like Lazy said, just somebody who's not going to knock him out in the first 30 seconds.
But see, that's a risk though. That's a risk with anyone at 205. Like they all hit hard.
Well,
even the guy that you don't know of, that you never heard of, that's coming off of the regionals, he still hits hard. He's 205 plus pounds, like, and Dom, see, I worry, man. I worry about his brain health because the dude played football. He played football in middle school, high school, and then he played in college too at Stony Brook, and he was a safety. So he was out there flying around and hitting people then. Like, the guy's got to have some pretty significant damage to his brain. And when he gets knocked out, he gets knocked the fuck out. And I don't like to see it.
Yeah, it looked like he was. It looked like he was looking to the face of God when he came around on that camera.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Yeah, to the point of, yeah, I get it. I don't want to say it just because he's not like Vanderlei Silva. He hasn't been fighting for 20-something years, but the football does come into play. And then on top of it too, when he goes out, you're all right. He goes out bad. And this is 205. These guys all like heavyweight. They are able to find the button, even if it's in a glancing blow. That happens.
Yeah, we see it all the time, like how when these guys' chin is starting to go or gone, it starts to become a question of do you stick around for something as in the end trivial as a better send off and a possible win, or do you prioritize your health? Because it's also going to look bad on your image too if they give you some unranked guy and he fucking clips you with some looping stupid donk punch and puts you on your ass. Like, that makes you look bad in the end too. So I don't know, it's tough scenes.
Well, I mean, that might just be the thing that tells him he's got to retire too, which wouldn't be a bad thing.
Unfortunately, I see Dom being the type of guy to go to BKFC or something afterwards.
Yeah, carry on just too long. All right, I guess it's time to move on to the co-main. Another short fight, a light heavyweight. Jimmy Crute versus Ivan Erslan. And I can sum this fight up in just a couple of sentences. Crute started off, he did the man dance for a while until he felt Erslan's power. And then he dove in and managed to get a takedown. And then all of a sudden it was Crute's world. He showed all the strength, all the skill, and just dominated the ground game. And then he sort of tried to tear Erslan's head off. The win came at 3:19 of the first round. And apparently what he did to Erslan does have a name. And despite it looking to me like he was just trying to tear his head off, it's a reverse can opener. And I don't think I've ever seen one of those before. And that's all I can really say about that fight. But we are going to stick with the theme of winners going first. So how about you, Austin? I'm guessing you enjoyed this fight for as long as it lasted. You got any ideas for Crute's next fight? I don't even know where he's ranked, to be honest.
You got me. I'll be honest. I'm not sure either. But it's funny too because Crute was coming off of a couple of losses and then a draw, and then a what was it? He's a big kid. He's a big kid, and his thing was being decent at grappling, but also having a hand that can knock people on their butt. Like, he's not incapable of finishing people on the feet. His bread and butter is taking you down and doing what he did. He's just manhandling people, and I I I will tell you though, it looked like I was watching a skit from WWE when he fucking pulled up the guy's chin, and you're like, oh my god, he's gonna do it, and he did it. He did the fucking thing, and I felt like I was like a kid back in the '90s, early 2000s, where you're just watching fucking WWE wrestlers just go, God, just fucking yanking on shit, just like trying. I'm like, oh yeah, I've seen that before, but
Yeah.
it's funny because you're looking at it, you're like, oh yeah, that's right, it's light heavyweight. This shit doesn't have to make sense because you know Ursland is not that guy you're gonna look at and be like, oh yeah, that's a fucking future contender right there. Nah, he's just a guy who's there. He's in the division. He's a big man who can hit hard and be a body for this. That's a guy you could throw up against Dominic Reyes or whatnot right there. Lazy. Hey,
That's
you
all right.
might
That's
win,
not
but
bad. That's not bad.
he's might lose too. All right, yeah, no, and then yeah, Crew showed up for the home crowd. That's awesome. I think they were nearly all but one lost. All of them, Kiwis and Aussies, all but one lost. So this was like the perfect encapsulation of the night. I think just chaotic, doesn't have to make a whole lot of sense watching, the rankings wise. You just need the hometown guys to win, and Crute won in front of his hometown or in front of the locals, and that was great. He did the thing where it doesn't have to make sense in the rankings. It looks good for the card that the locals happen to win, especially the Kiwis, I guess too. But as far as what we're looking at next, I just give him another guy a hell. Why not just give him oh my god, I believe he beat Urslan not too long ago. Ion Kutalava, decent, heavy-handed, a little hard to kind of knock out if you can't find a button early. But another grappler, willing to kind of do the weird thing on the feet and then also be weird in the cage because he's known to do that. I would like to see that matchup just because it's like, okay, both of these guys are not old, but they fight like old people, just kind of like yeah, you're not sure what's gonna happen. Someone's gonna probably fall on their face and still come up and get a submission. I don't know. It's some weird shit. Light heavyweight's weird sometimes. It's funny. This used to be what middleweight was, where it was just a weird division, some kooky characters and shit like that. Light heavyweight has now become the weird division. you know, where it's like
Yeah.
they don't have to be athletes; they're just kind of there. That's what I would do. But hey, congrats to you, Crew. Pulled it off with the WWE move because reasons. And hey, if I see that man, I owe him a beer.
Yeah, and again, that leaves us with the man who did not choose wisely. So let's hear it from Lazy. Explain yourself. What do you have to say about this one?
Well, first of all, I'll have to explain why I didn't pick Crude. I can't pick Crude, and I haven't picked Crude ever since he went on his religious expedition that he went on and came back a new changed man, whatever the hell religion that he's following. Like the spiritual transition just threw me the fuck off. Your name's Jimmy Crute. Your nickname's the Brute. Look at how you fight. Look at your hair. Look at your tattoos. Like, don't miss me with that spiritual shit. Like, I don't need to.
I didn't even leave it in my own hands, man. I left it in my Lord and Saviour's, Jesus Christ's hands. And when he puts his hand to something, you cannot stop it. Praise to the Lord.
Well, be who you are, Jimmy. Just knock off the fucking the spiritual gag. Be who you are, Jimmy. You're a guy with a mullet. Your nickname's the Brute. You live up to it in the cage, and that finish was every bit of a brute finish. That was Austin. You hit the nail on the head. That was a WWE move. That was the camel clutch, as made famous by the Iron Sheik, or also known as the Steiner recliner. If you're a Scott Steiner fan. I've never seen that in MMA. Absolutely never seen that. Jed Meshew called it a cop choke. It did remind me of something a cop would do. Just fucking put their knee on your back and crank your chin. How that got a submission in modern MMA in 2025 in the cream of the crop organization, the combat sports leader of the world. I don't know. Ursulon is not the guy that I thought he was. I thought he was going to come out swinging and crack Jimmy and at least test Jimmy's chin, test Jimmy's willingness to fight, and maybe his test that spirit, test that newfound spirituality that he has. Because when Jimmy gets into a war, he's had some fishy results. So, we've seen it, and Austin brought it up. All the draws and the losses, so he's an up and down guy. I just don't trust him. Not that I trust his opponent, but Yvonne Ursulon isn't trying to get me to sign up to a cult. So I don't know.
Jesus Christ.
Jimmy gets the win.
Yeah, I'd like to say I want to see a demonstration of that choke by Laura Sanko. She does all those classes on those things.
Yeah, I'm sure
I'll
you would like to see
volunteer,
that. But yeah, good win for Jimmy. Doesn't mean anything, no. But as Austin also pointed out, little in this light heavyweight division does mean anything. So it obviously doesn't set him up for a fight with Carlos Ulberg. I'm sure they're boys, and he's way out of the picture on that. He's not even in the rankings, to answer your earlier question, DangerMouse.
Okay then. Well, before that, in the feature fight, we had some fun at featherweight. Well, it should have been featherweight, but Tavares missed weight, so it was classed as a catchweight bout. I don't think he was missed weight by that much, but obviously missed it by enough. Round one was just a kicking masterclass from Jack. He was mixing up his targets. He was attacking the body on multiple occasions, and then he knew he was going to start switching up to the head after he trained Ramon a little bit. He wobbled Ramon's legs when he did land one of those head kicks, and he was also doing apparently what he'd said in the fighters meeting, which was he was going to target Ramon's left arm, and so he was blasting that with kicks. Round two, it was still Jack looking by far the better fighter. He landed a very nice little trip at the end of the round. It looked to me like a reverse body drop. So I would actually love to see that one again. And then round three, Jack just switched over to wrestling, took him down, and he couldn't get much ground and pound going. Then he got reversed, and then he managed to reverse it. He managed to escape, gets up with about 20 seconds to go, finishes the round in absolutely dominant position, taking swings at Tavares' head. So, yeah, a fun fight, a nice mixture of striking and grappling, a great performance by Jack Jenkins, who was very emotional in his interview. Very enjoyable fight. Jack looked really, really crisp and followed his game plan very well. And we might as well keep this artificial theme I've decided on doing. So, Austin, time for you to revel again in the glory of winning. And I'm 100% sure that you enjoyed this scrap.
I did. Yes. Thank you. Much appreciated. And you know what? Here's the crazy thing. I didn't think Ramon Tavares looked terrible, but you could kind of tell he was kind of thrown off by the event just because he looked like a guy who didn't realize that he missed weight. Like, I don't know if you could tell Lazy or had any inside information on this. Was it like more of a shorter notice for Tavares, or was it just because he missed by a pound, right? Am I not mistaken in that?
Yes.
I think it was a little bit less than a pound, but close to a pound. But actually, the opposite. It wasn't a short notice thing, and he really had no excuse. He missed weight in his last fight, and this was him moving up a weight class, and he missed weight again.
Ah, gotcha. Okay, makes sense. Yes. Okay, but you can tell, but Tavares is like one of those dudes who is capable and has a look about him that he understands the concept of fighting. Like, he has decent striking. He's got some awareness on the ground. He's well rounded. Is my theme here, and he looks capable, but he's just missing something. Whereas Jack Jenkins, you couldn't tell half the time he was about to throw a high kick because he threw it. And being a featherweight who's not very tall, that was fucking awesome to see. He's a dude who's an action fighter. Win, lose, or draw, that dude's going to go out there and actually give you a show. Despite getting kicked in the nuts twice, he still powered through it. Fucking guy. And he pulled out the win. Good for him, especially since I think the last time we did see him, he got KO'd via he got hit in the gut. I think it was what it was after dropping his opponent, and he, if I'm not mistaken, he lost after and hasn't fought since that fight, if I'm not mistaken. But he pulled it out. It was a tough fight. He knew it. This kid wasn't going to be there to be cannon fodder, and he fought like it. He fought precariously, but he put himself in positions to win, and Jack had to pull out a lot of his tools to get the fight to where he needed to. He had a great takedown in the at the second round where he kind of went and tripped him Tavares behind the leg. I was like, that was beautiful. I love that, and he landed some great ground pound.
Yeah, that's right. I thought it looked like a reverse body drop to me. So that's exactly what you do with that. A drop, kind of a drop.
Yep. Yeah, and it was perfect to see too, because you could tell who the better fighter was. You could tell who the more well-rounded fighter between the two of them were, and it was nice to see Jenkins pull out a lot of his tools that you don't usually get to see because he's just beating the shit out of the guy usually. But it was nice to see him actually pull out a lot of his tools because we know he's good. If we've been watching Jack Jenkins for a good little minute, he's capable. He's good. He's able to rise to the occasion, even if in the losing manner. He's a good fighter. We want to see him face slightly better competition, but maybe just not just yet. But hey, it was a great start, great turnaround. Another hometown win, another home country guy winning, and it can't go wrong. Jack Jenkins is always fun to watch.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you might have already semi done this, Lazy. But explain why you picked the fat bastard.
Well, same reason I always picked Fat Bastard. The statistics, the numbers, the percentages. I think it's like 62% of the time or something like that. The fighter that misses weight wins.
I'm not sure if that stat hasn't changed and it's swung back the other way.
That is possible because it's been biting me in the fucking ass lately. Usually, that's one of my go-to moves. If a fighter misses, I always pick them just by default. And yeah, it bit me in the ass this time because I do actually like Jack Jenkins. I think most people like him. I don't know why you wouldn't. He's a really, really fun fighter to watch. Very entertaining style. He does everything with malice. He does everything with nasty intent. His leg kicks, some of the best in the featherweight division, if not in the game. Fucking murderous leg kicks. And yeah, if you remember a couple of fights ago, he's a guy that fell victim to that unfortunate situation where I think it was broke his arm against Chepe Mariscal in their fight, like posted on a takedown or something like that and broke his arm. I can't remember specifically, but it was something along those lines. So he's had a tough run of luck. He's one of those guys that's had some bad things fall him. So it's good to see him get back on the winning trail. It does suck that it has to come against a guy who did miss weight and was coming up a weight class, as I said, after missing weight in his prior fight. So Ramon Tavares probably on the outs, likely may have been his last fight in the UFC. They've been cutting a hard line on weight misoffenders lately, so we know how that could go. But yeah, it's still a win for him nonetheless. He's a fun featherweight fighter, and I don't know what the ceiling is on a guy like him. It's kind of hard to gauge with the people that he's beat in the UFC. Herbert Burns, Ramon Tavares. So, we'll see what happens with him. He's 31 years old. Could have a good run in him, entering his prime. Seems to be finding his stride. So a good fun guy like him, I would like to see him stay active, and hopefully he gets back in there soon rather than waiting a long time to take his next fight.
Yeah, I just did a little check with Grok there, and apparently the UFC history, the win percentage of fighters who miss weight and still compete is about 55%.
It's gone down a bit then.
Yeah. And it can vary by factors by how much they miss weight by as well. Obviously, if you miss weight by 7 pounds, you're probably getting a bit of a weight advantage.
I was going to bring that up too. He missed in this one, but he barely missed, so he wasn't getting much of an advantage.
Yeah, I was just being cruel and unkind, that was all. Yeah, okay, on to the next one then. We had wily veteran Neil Magny defeating Jake Matthews via submission, Darce choke or Bravo choke, you can call it either one, at 3 minutes 8 of round 3. Matthews the biggest favourite on the main card. And the big question was Neil Magny out at the end of the first round?
No. Yeah, ref, you're right. Fight's still on.
I thought that he stepped in before the horn sounded.
Nah, he didn't.
When his arm dropped down. And was this a nice save by the ref, or should he have just stuck to it and said, no, I'm waving this off?
Good save. We're going to take a listen to this. Right arm of Magny. The referee.
Because it got to round 3, and Magny managed to get the action up against the cage where he likes to fight. And then after a lot of wrestling, he managed to sink in that Darce choke and take another late round finish. So I guess the big question is did Matthews get malotted? And we were all losers on this one. So let's hear from Lazy first. What did you make of the fight? And there's no real point in asking what's next for Magny, I guess. Just be another show fight.
This was so bizarre. We've seen similar situations before where referees make a blunder like this, a fight-ending blunder, and then they try to reverse their decision or do reverse their decision, or they make the wrong decision and can't reverse it. There's a whole lot to fucking say about this fight, and it's more so to say about the referee in that situation than it is to say about the fight itself, because you can't blame either fighter. Just very peculiar. Anyway, the officiating scenario, referees stop fights prematurely all the time. It happens all too often. You should never stop a fight prematurely as a referee on a blood choke. If anything, maybe you miss it by a few seconds, whatever it is, unless it's egregious and you miss it by like 30 seconds or something. But this is MMA. This is cage fighting. You got to let these guys go out. It's not, his arm's not breaking. He's not snapping his knee. This isn't a joint manipulation submission. It's a choke. Let the guy go out. Make sure he's out. Be certain of it. Don't stop the fight prematurely. That's one. If you do, I think you got to fucking own up to that as the ref. I think you got to keep your call the way it is. Now, I get you realizing in the moment and the horn sounds a second later and you think like, maybe I can fudge this. Maybe I can pull a fast one on everyone and I can get this one over on everyone and we could just go ahead into the second round. But dude, they showed the replay a million times. We've all seen the replay a million times by now. There was a good several seconds between him stopping the fight, clearly touching the fighters and calling the fight off, and that bell sounding. Jake Matthews is already celebrating. The adrenaline is already hitting. He's going through a feeling that none of us have ever gone through, where I can't even imagine the fucking hormones and the dopamine and the serotonin and shit that's coursing through his veins. And then within seconds, he gets told, nope, round's actually over and next one's going to be starting. You didn't win. He wasn't out. How the fuck are you supposed to come back from that? How the fuck are you supposed to mentally bounce back from that and physically bounce back from that within 60 seconds? You're not, and you probably can't, and you probably won't. Neil Magny, he has the emotions of all the work I've done, this entire camp, everything I've gone through. It's all over now. It's been snatched away from me. It's been taken away from me by this ref who just made a terrible, horrendous call. And he's beside himself, and he can't believe what's happening, and he's denying it in his brain to himself, and you could see it in the footage. He's nope. He's shaking his head, walking away. Like, so you got two guys on two completely different emotional spectrums here, both wildly fight-changing feelings and things that they're going through. So you can't put it on the fighter. You got to put it on this fucking referee. And it's bothering me right now that I don't have this guy's name, but he wasn't a guy that we've seen much before, if ever. I don't recall ever seeing this guy.
And your referee in charge is Jim Herdios.
So this is a fucked up thing because I can't blame either fighter. I have to blame the official, but I don't really think that Neil Magny won this fight. I think that Jake Matthews won this fight. And I think you go with the initial decision made by the governing body in the fight, and you give this fight to Jake Matthews, submission win, whether it's a fuck up on the referee's behalf or not. That second round should not count. It should be expunged from the record, and this fight should probably be overturned. And afterwards at the post-fight press conference, the guy that fills in for Dana White for a lot of these overseas events, I think his name's David Shaw, he said that Matthews has a good case if he does appeal this fight. And there's there's a good likelihood it could get overturned. I don't know how true that is, but I think if I'm him, I'm pursuing that because this is a fucked up situation, man. Somebody's got to be held accountable.
Yeah, for sure. That's a very good point. Austin?
Yeah, because Lazy's right. Yeah, he. I was trying to think about. I was even speaking of like. I'm trying to honestly like a defense lawyer. Speaking for my attorney, for my client, who would in this case be the ref. I'm trying to think. I'm like, there's no real positive way to spin this. So I'm like, fuck. Okay, yeah, he's got that. Shit. He's got the deniability's not there. Shit. Well, because the worst thing you could say is that he stopped it too early, and the fight should have been called right then and there, the minute that Jake Matthews has it, right? Because I've been not in the same situation, but wrestling, there was a situation where I remember ref gets the pin call as the timer, goes out, and what they usually, if there wasn't a person on the mat to hit you with like a towel or throw something at you to like let you know, hey, or tap the ref to let him know, hey, that the clock's done. He won't know, and he'll just kind of keep letting the match play out. But I had managed to pin my opponent before them, but they had to review it, and somebody had to kind of look back at footage so that they can kind of get an idea of, okay, when did he actually call it? Because they didn't want to take the advice from the coaches, because one could be biased or something like that. So they got somebody's video and they had to look at it. The difference here is that, like Lazy said, you can see that Magny's arm goes down and the clock is not at 0, and he barely shakes the hand before calling it anyways.
5 to go in the round. Neil Magny is out. And he's saying he doesn't. Jim Perdios.
At the worst, he could have shaken the hand and told him to resist. If he did, he only gave him a split second to respond. And at that point, the ref basically either determines whether or not he should or should not intervene. And the minute he intervenes, before the clock runs out, to end the fight, that fight is done. It does not matter if it was in error or not. The fight cannot be restarted because the fight was stopped. It is not for an injury. It's not for a foul. It's not for a doctor to check something. It is because the fight was called. And unfortunately for Matthews, he is similar to what I had to do. Like you have that thing where it's like that adrenaline, like Lazy said, that it all sits on you. You're kind of like, fuck, I got this guy. There's no way I got it, right? And it fucks with your head a little bit because you think, fuck, now I have to fucking do this again. But that's the problem. Let's say the ref didn't call it exactly, right? Let's say the ref, given the benefit of the doubt, yeah, he didn't mean to call it, like a Tyone, too old for his own good, falls on his on the fighters, accidentally calls the fight, right? Let's say that happens. It doesn't matter if it was deep. It doesn't matter if he was technically like not out. The fight still has to continue because let's say, if it was an accident, you can't really take that back. In this case, they didn't. Ref called it as a false alarm. Oh, I didn't mean to stop it. Well, shit. Now you gotta unfortunately suck it up. That's the problem. Is that he felt like he didn't have to do anymore, and he was winning the second round. He won the second round handedly. He had him in a fucking a top mounted triangle choke, and Magny survived that. He had an adrenaline dump because Magny shows up in the third round and pulled a Mike Malott on him. Mike Malott, unfortunately, not a lot. And you got to give Magny the credit because he survived. He's a vet. He knows how to do this shit. And you can't give that guy any chances to come back into the fight. Jake Matthews found out the hard way. It doesn't matter if you thought you had the fight won. You have to keep fighting if the fight is continued. It doesn't matter if it was, the wrong call or not. You accepted it on the terms of the fight continuing. You didn't have to agree. You could have looked at it and now you have a case regardless. But it is what it is. That was the fight that was called. Fortunately, like Lacey said, he can appeal this. At a bare minimum, just call it a no contest. because then it's neither. You get your win bonus regardless, and fine, whatever. He's a guy who will champion the win and the win bonus and the show bonus because he doesn't like money apparently. That's what he can do. He can go to the local because it's not the UFC that's in charge of that. It is the Australian Athletic Commission. So he can at least look to do that, and I would have a no issue if they turned this into a no contest or even a reverse for a win. But he has to do that. Will he? Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
You know what I would say if I was Jake Matthews. You know what I'd say? I'd say with the way the first round went down, I was under the impression that if I tapped out, it just ended the round, and we went on to the next, or the fight. Like we would be 1-1 at that point. Like,
Doing a chael special, yeah, but with just
Jake Matthews, one of the few guys to go 1-1 in a single fight. What the fuck is that?
Yeah.
Real quick though, before we move on, I do got a couple of little factoids about this fight though, about Neil Magny in particular. And I'm borrowing these from Mike Bond from MMA Junkie. So I'll spit them out real quick. Neil Magny, who is now 31-13 in MMA and 24-12 in the UFC, has 24 victories in UFC competition. And those are the second most in company history, behind just Jim Miller, who has 27. So Neil Magny, good chance he could stick around, and if Miller retires anytime soon, surpass Jim Miller for most wins in UFC history. Those 24 victories are also all in UFC welterweight competition, and that is the most in divisional history. Magny's total fight time of 7 hours, 19 minutes, and 35 seconds in UFC welterweight competition is the most also in divisional history. Yeah. And then what's the last one? Magny's 10 stoppage victories in the welterweight competition in the UFC are the fourth most in the division's history, behind just Matt Brown, Vicente Luque, and Matt Hughes. He also has landed 2,714 total strikes in the UFC. That's the second most in company history, behind Max Holloway. Yeah, so longevity can do you a lot of fucking good for the record books.
Yeah, absolutely. That's some interesting and impressive stats. Yeah, okay, then. The opener was between Charlie Campbell and Tom Nolan. Very good scrap at lightweight to start the main card. Both of these guys came out swinging, but Nolan hurt Campbell with a spin kick to the body.
And that's definitely the game plan.
The guy who's never been submitted. This was a beautiful spinning back kick to the body. You can see in the body language from Campbell that actually hurt him.
I saw it in the replay. I thought he'd hurt him when I first saw it. Then you saw it on the replay. Great poker face from Campbell, but that blow hurt for sure. And anyway, it wasn't much longer after that. Nolan managed to get the fight to the ground, snatched up a very nice rear naked choke to win, and that was actually his first ever sub. And that came at 4 minutes and 8 of round 1. Now, none of us were silly enough to go against the local hero. So, Austin, let's hear from you on this one.
Gotcha. No, this is a good opener fight because they're two guys who are young enough and trying to make a name for themselves in this division, which is always a Shark Tank. You looked at them and they're like, yeah, I could beat that fucking guy. Yeah, I could fucking knock that guy out. And they fucking went out there to try to prove it. Tom Nolan, for some reason, doesn't know how to use his range. It's funny because you could see him kind of like having to measure and then realizing that his opponent is closer, and he's kind of like, I should be reaching him, but then he forgets how long he is. And, he finds himself on his butt a handful of times more than he should, but you give him enough time, he kind of pulls himself out of the issues that he's giving himself and turns the fight around. And it's not like Campbell wasn't like, incapable of winning this fight. He just kind of went out there and I think put himself in a position to lose because he went full ham right off the bat, just trying to throw haymakers at a guy who is known for kind of having to take a couple of bludgeoning shots, recalibrate, and then comes back and wins the fight. It's lightweight, so you're kind of expecting this. This is a fight that you would honestly see on the regional scene, and you're looking at these two guys kind of like having to prove themselves, and this would be a regional championship level fight, but we're seeing it inside the UFC. So it's like, oh, they're gonna try to kill each other more, which is great for us, but probably not for them. But I thought it was a fun scrap, because you saw the momentum switch kind of like immediately the minute like Tom found that range again and just started landing and putting Campbell back on his, bike, trying to figure out, okay, how do I get back in? He's not landing me back into his range. And, good on Campbell for trying to stick it out, but like that body shot that you said, Mouse, like, damn, that just fucking changed the entirety of the fight. And then you can see him struggle the minute that takedown came, and he's like, "Fuck, I can't, I don't know what to do from here." It's not like he wanted to play on the ground anyways, and Nolan, for all his faults, he finds a way to win. You got to give him that. And in this sport and in this division, if you get knocked back or you get put on the back foot and you're losing, outright, you have to adapt. You got to figure out what your second game plan is, what your third gear is, what your counter should be on the fly sometimes. And he found a way to win. You got to give him credit for that. Great fight. Excited for Nola to continuing to surprise me.
Yep. Lazy, anything to say on that fight? I'm sure you'll have something.
Probably one of the funner fights of the night, really. 4 minutes of chaos. And Austin, good point, was saying it's reminiscent of a regional fight. And that might be why I liked it so much. This is probably my fight of the night. It didn't even go a full round. Probably my favorite fight of the night. I like both these guys as far as their fighting styles. I like Tom Nolan more personally than I do Charlie Campbell. Which reminds me, this is the fight that had Long Island Luke completely split on the main card minute, because you had an Aussie guy taking on a guy from Long Island. So he was split right down the middle. He didn't know who to root for. To the point, I think he didn't bet on this one. I think he stayed away from it. I don't remember. Either way.
I was just going to jump in. I bet Gaff was happy about Magny winning, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. He was very happy. And he does not feel that this fight should be reviewed. But yeah, Tom Nolan, he does not use the range that is correct. He's a tall, long guy. Got that tall, long, and lanky build. It does not make the most out of it. Does not make good use of it. The other thing that I noticed with him, and I've been saying this a lot lately with guys, and I think it's just kind of a trend of bad defense across MMA and in the UFC with these young guys, does not tuck his chin whatsoever. He just fucking walks around with his chin up in the air like he's fucking smelling the roses. He needs to learn to fucking tuck that thing, get proper form, because a little bit of the basics goes a long way in that essence. It's why guys like Ilya Taporia, Jack Della Maddalena, and others are so successful in their boxing. They have those fundamentals. They have those small things like tucking your chin, keeping your hands up, squaring your shoulders, like just various stuff like that. Anyway, if he buttons up a few things, I think he could be a real problem. 155 is a tough division to make an impact in, but you're 10-1. You're 10-1. You're coming out of a region that they're clearly looking for new stars in, and 25 years old, so clearly a marketable young kid. Charlie Campbell, I don't think that his style is too sustainable either, and I think he's a bit undersized for this current modern era of lightweight. But he's a fun fighter to watch as well. I hope that they keep him around for a couple more, give him a chance to get knocked out a few more times. I wouldn't oppose that.
Yeah, is that it?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. That then just leaves us with the best from the rest. And for a change, the prelims were not better than the main card, at least in my opinion. Now, I think I know where Lazy's going, so let's hear from him first. I know we just heard him speaking, but let's hear from him again.
Oh, you talking about me bragging about being the only one to pick Cam Ralston?
Yeah, I'm kind of gutted because I almost picked him myself, and then I decided not to at the last minute. And then, of course, I saw that you had picked him, but yeah, congratulations on that one.
Well, it wasn't me having extreme faith in him. I will highlight that one as my fight, best of the rest fight, but it's mainly just a knock on Andre Petrosky. He's another one of those guys I can't trust. He's had too many weird, fluky performances. Anytime he pops up, unless he's going against the guy that has like huge gaping holes in the grappling department, I pretty much stay away from him. I'm almost always going to veer to the other side. And like I'm saying, that's not me shitting on Cam Ralston. He is a good guy, and he's another one of these young talents, but he's another guy that's not very defensively sound. And luckily, you don't got to worry about that too much with Petrosky. He's got a one-track mind, and he's going to do one thing. He's going to try to wrestle you. So if you can hold your own, at least fairly well in the wrestling department, and put your hands together or kicks, you're probably going to put Andre Petrosky away. So, yeah, just it was a nice finish. Nothing too remarkable, but again, he's one of these guys where it's going to be fun to see how they matchmake him going forward as well. 30 years old, so not quite as young as who were we just discussing in the last one? Tom Nolan, but still a guy with some upside to him. Yeah, going to be fun to matchmake him.
Yeah, big guy as well, like 6'3", isn't he?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okie dokie then. I'm going to slip myself in next on this category, and I'm going to go for Michelle Montague versus Carolina. I forget her first name. This was just another controversial fight in some respects, because in the second round, Carolina had been taken down, and Montague was clearly grounded, had both her knees down, I think, at least one of her knees down, and Carolina just kicked her in the face, and the referee, Steve Percival, stepped in, stopped the fight, took a point, and then he did not give the position back. So it was great to see the point taken, but Carolina is a Muay Thai specialist, and you've just given her a chance to knock out a woman who was clearly beating her at that moment. But yeah, fortunately, that didn't happen. Montague very clearly won it. I did mean to check the judges' scorecards, because I think there were a couple of 25s on there. Obviously, she'd lost a point already. But Montague, a bit of a beast. Training partner of one of Lazy's favorites, Kayla Harrison, at ATT Coconut Creek, Florida. Great grappling, raw power. She's got her farmer's strength, as she's described it, and she does, however, need to go back to Coconut Creek and get some work done with Dakota, because her striking is absolutely terrible. It's very poor, but hugely dominant debut in the UFC. Kept her unbeaten record, even if she didn't manage to get the 7th finish. So very nicely done from Michelle Montague. And the final shout out goes to Austin.
I was gonna go. I was gonna say I was gonna go for the first fight of the night, which was
Tainara,
Loma Lookboomy and God damn it, I can't. I don't know why I forget the names all of a sudden every time.
Alexia Tainara.
Yeah, Alexia Tainara. I will, because I was gonna go with them, but I'll shout them out real quick. Tainara, super fun, very capable. Not the biggest fighter for the division, but she's extremely well-rounded. Likes to get in dogfights, but knows how to take the fight to the ground when she needs to. I appreciate that. Lukumi kind of struggled, was willing to kind of take the dogfight, even though she probably didn't need to. But, again, her biggest issue was being on the ground, especially against more capable, bigger opponents. Hasn't really learned how to defend it. But my actual pick is Navajo Sterling and Mr. Bellato, friend and training partner of Pereira. I was not impressed, and I'll say this as honestly as I can. I wished he was more calculated and capable of putting more pressure on a guy who is essentially a punching bag in the light heavyweight division. Like, don't get me wrong, he's good and he's young, but like, for fuck's sake, dude, like, he found himself getting countered and was doing this thing where he was throwing to the body and then would leave his chin open, but wouldn't like remember that Bellato can throw back at him. And then every time he did land clean on Bellato, he would back up and then just kind of disengage completely and then come back, to re-engage when Bellato was centered again. Like, he was, coming back to actually throw back at him to counter. And it was just frustrating because you could tell Navajo Sterling was not prepared for that. Sterling looked like he's like, okay, I usually beat the guys like this. Why isn't he going down? Similar to how when Ulberg kind of doesn't land immediately on somebody, he kind of like struggles in the later end of the fight. But Sterling is still young, should be able to address this and not, it wasn't like he was panicking, but I had reservations against him and other guys in this division now that I didn't have before. And it's not because he's a bad fighter, but he just didn't look like he could adjust. And for Belato's credit, he fucking came back and was arguably landing pretty good shots on Sterling, and Sterling didn't know how to take it, and you could see that. But cautionary show of experience, and sometimes this is why you're not usually wanting to put guys. This is only beneficial for Sterling because I won't be able to just knock everybody out. I won't be able to just beat everybody. I won't be able to just run over my opponents easily. And he had that in one of his other fights too. But this was one of the guys where it's like, okay, I could literally do nothing to dissuade this guy from coming forward, and I had to kind of dig deep. That was something I wanted to see, but the way it turned out, it wasn't so much an issue, but it's something he has to kind of check up on occasionally.
Real quickly, before we move on to rating the card, I want to touch on the 2 fights you guys mentioned. DangerMouse, your fight with Montague, she becomes the first woman from New Zealand to ever compete in the UFCs. Yeah, big distinction for her. She'll always be in the record books for that. And then Austin, also to touch on your fight, there's another distinction in that one. First, Navajo Sterling, to me, he got exposed as being a bit of a doofus and a bit of a buffoon in this fight because he looked just as dumb, if not dumber, than Rodolfo Bellato and how he fought in this fight. He was getting cracked. He has no defense either, so that's going to be a problem for him. But Rodolfo Bellato, he gets to crack himself into the record books as well because he becomes just the second fighter in UFC history to have a record of 1-1-1-1. That's 1 win, 1 loss, 1 draw, and 1 no contest in his first 4 Octagon appearances. The only man to do that other than him is Damon Jackson, my favorite racing stripe tattooed idiot. So
Holy
2 dumbasses. How about that?
Holy shit.
It's even more amazing I know who Damon Jackson is.
The guy with the Turkish hairline and the bad tattoo on his back.
Yeah, absolutely. I've just got to mention one other fight as well. Not for the performance of the fight itself, more for the referee, because the thickness versus Musasa. Get down with the thickness. Ooh, wah, ooh, wah, wah. Yeah, I forget which round it was. I think it was the final round. In fact, it was the final round. Thickness blasted Musasa between the legs, kicked his balls into orbit. The guy takes the full 5 minutes, which you almost never see in a UFC fight. And then at the end of the round, Thickness got the takedown, got dominated from the top, and won the fight. And he should have had a point deducted because that clearly changed the way the fight was going. Because up to then, Thickness was pretty much gassed out and he was getting pretty well lit up. So at the very least, it should have been a draw. So yeah, fuck that referee. That's my final point on last card.
I'm glad you mentioned that too, because Musasa did something I've never seen in any MMA fight for all the years I've been watching. He told the referee that he had to go piss. He was like, "Can I go pee?" And the ref's like, "No, you can't go pee." And he didn't just ask it once; he asked it like 3 times. Like, what? You can't go pee. And if you do pee in the octagon, you automatically lose. You can't expel bodily fluids.
Oh, right in front of you.
You can't pee right now.
Thanks for showing me.
Yeah. After the fight. After the
kick.
Yeah.
I was curious about that. I thought that was the case.
So weird. I gotta pee.
Yeah, well, he might have had to kick a kidney stone or something out of him.
What do you think? You think you could just, go ahead and leave the octagon, walk to the bathroom. We'll wait for you here. Like, what the fuck?
You got a spit bucket.
They should always
whack it out.
I was gonna say, like, a porta potty next to the octagon should be mandatory now, because I mean, we've had people defecate. They say they were going to defecate, and people who have nearly spilled other fluids and whatnot in the the cage before.
The guy that puked a couple months ago in that one regional MMA. Fucking vomited blue Gatorade all over the cage and got disqualified.
There's you remember that tubby dude who kind of like he woke up and realized he shit himself?
Yeah.
Steven Seagal, allegedly.
God.
All right, I think that we've just about wrapped up all the discussion we're going to have on that card. So it's time to rate it. It's time to rate that card. And I don't know who's going to go first because I haven't really picked. Eeny, meeny, miny, Mo. Austin's going to go.
Ooh.
Catch a Guzman by the toe.
Yeah, I don't know.
I
looked up and saw your name on my script. So
you know what, I like cards that feel like they cater to the local fans, especially when they win. I love that. I mean, to be fair, they should have been undefeated. you know, even counting the Kiwis, they should have the Kiwis and Australians should have been undefeated on this card, but unfortunately, we didn't get that due to a misjudgment and error, and that's unfortunate. But the rest of the card was kind of fun. I mean, aside from the main event being more depressing than anything, I would say it being early in the morning, so it wasn't like super great for the local crowd. The fights were somewhat entertaining, and then even the main event, even the main card was like actually fairly entertaining going into the main event. So I can't give it an 8 or a 9. I'm not going to give it below a 6. I'll give it an honest 7. A 7, and not more, not less. Actually, I'll give it a 7.5 because they reduced the tickets to $49. I'll do that. Yeah, so you can't go wrong. You can't go wrong. That's how you should treat your local fans. Give them discount prices and fill the fucking arena. Do that more often, UFC. Yeah, 7.5 for me.
yeah, pretty generous. I could hear Lazy's surprise there, so I'm going to make him go next because I haven't thought of what I want to give it yet.
Okay, well, here's the thing. Did they make those tickets cheaper to help out the local people, or did they reduce the tickets last minute because they were afraid of the arena being empty on fucking TV? That's why they fucking reduced the tickets. It wasn't to help out anyone. And despite them reducing the tickets were still far more expensive than they were the last time they were there. Because despite this event drawing way less than the last fight night they held in Australia, they still broke the gate record. They still set a new all-time gate record for a fight night. So they're still making money hand over fist, even offering these fucking reduced tickets. The attendance to this event, 12,500. That's all they drew, 12,500. They draw more than that on a weekly basis for Monday Night Raw in fucking tiny fucking arenas around the country. Like, it's just... And did they cater to the locals with the fighters on the card? Sure, yeah. There was a good number of Anzac fighters. You got your Australians and your New Zealand fighters on there. There's plenty of them, plenty from that region. But did they cater to the fans with the day that they held it on, the morning after the Aussie League Football Grand Final? No, they did not. Did they cater to them holding it in Perth, where apparently Australians don't like to go to? It's not an easy place to travel to. No, they did not. Did they cater to them by giving them anything to really look forward to on this card as far as name value or stakes? A little bit in the main event, but outside of that, most of them people didn't know who the fuck these people were. And then on top of that, you could say RIP to the 5 fucking fights we lost. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, 5 fucking fights we lost. And among them, some of the more fun fights that were going to be on the card. RIP to the Jonathan McCaleb versus Obon Elliott fight. That was going to be a fun one. RIP to the debut of Louis Sutherland versus Justin Taffa, who he was going to knock unconscious. That was going to be a fun one. RIP to the other Taffa who was supposed to fight on this card. We went from a Taffa-filled card to a Taffa-less card. So, and then you didn't even start it at a reasonable time for the locals. You started at 7 fucking a.m. so that you could start it at 7 p.m. in the U.S. So, I don't fucking know, man. They were fights. They happened. I watched them, along with the 13 other fucking events I've watched since Thursday. But, yeah, as you could tell from my rant there, I did not enjoy it. I'm going to be very harsh on this one because Austin was overly positive. So to balance him out, I'm going to give this a 3.
Oh, that's no. Come on. Boo. Whoa. Come on.
Jesus.
That's about how many. That's about how many fights I enjoyed. 3.
Wow. Penalty on the play. Then.
Wow.
So, someone has thrown his rattle out the pram there, I think. I guess that just leaves me to have a go. I'm not going to attempt to jack it up by countering Lazy by giving it a stupidly high score. The prelims were not great. The main card was okay. I watched it this afternoon. Obviously, it was pretty quick card, and I have been going down in a certain number for the last few weeks. I'll be going down 1 from the previous weeks. But if I did that, I'd give it a better score than Austin gave it, and I can't do that. So it's been the devil's own card to think of a score for. So I'm going to give it a 6.66.
Such an arbitrary number, Jesus.
I like that. Yeah, it's good.
Okay. Any other business you guys want to bring up?
I did want to say real quick to counter Lazy, a top of the list card is a benefit, which is something you should have added to your score. So excuse me, sir. Yeah, Louis Sutherland being on the card would have been great, but we didn't get him. But I'll take that if we get top of the list card. There you go.
Well, that is true. You got me there. They did do us a slight favor. But we came dangerously close to a Jimmy Crute main event. I knew it. We were so close. It was going to happen, but it did. But real quick, before we wrap up and whatever, just in other news, do want to give a quick mention to the Vanderlei Silva situation that went down also last night down in Brazil at what I believe is called Spaten Fight Night. Spaten is a beer company who has sponsored several of these like celebrity exhibition boxing matches. They did the Chael Sonnen and Anderson Silva rematch, a couple other ones. But anyhow, this is a very bad situation. It was not a good situation. I'm not going to get too into it, but Vanderlei Silva, he is one of the recipients of the recent class action lawsuit that settled. In that situation, some letters surfaced that he wrote in support of the lawsuit to kind of like help sway the judges, like many fighters did. But in his letters, he spoke very openly about some issues he's been dealing with CTE and not good things. And then he goes out and has a boxing match in which they had basically a bounty because there was I'm not sure how much, but quite a large, sizable knockout bonus. So if you knocked out your opponent in this supposed exhibition boxing match, you got a huge cash bonus. And then the guy he fought apparently was a pro boxer for a long time with like 30 career KOs or some shit like that. So terrible idea to begin with. Then he cheats multiple times. I guess he got like 4 points deducted throughout the fight for headbutting, disregarding the referee, etc. Ends up getting disqualified. All hell breaks out. In-ring brawl, and in the melee, he gets clipped by a guy and gets laid the fuck out. I'm talking dead body, corpse on a slab. We're looking at the morgue, folks. And new clips have since emerged of one of the referees in the chaos pulling his limp body across the ring as he just looks like a rag doll. And it's a bad situation. So I guess all in all, my reason for bringing this up is I don't know. We got to stop glorifying these old man fights. We have to do something to deter our legends of the game from putting themselves in these situations. I don't know what that is. I don't have the answer, folks, but I don't want to see any more old men, literally old men, getting fucking sent to the Shadow Realm. Something needs to happen here. Something.
Yeah, very fair point. I haven't really seen much about that. Austin's giggling. What's Austin want to say? Anything?
No, it was just going from, oh yeah, he was cheating the whole time to, oh yeah, he got knocked the fuck out. Jesus
yeah,
Christ.
It's true. It's true. Kind of poetic justice a little bit.
Yeah. That is it for us this week then. We'll, of course, be back for UFC 320 next week, which is looking like an absolute banger of a card. And Lazy will be hosting that one, so make sure not to miss it. We may be recording a preview show for that card as well later this evening, so keep your eyes open for that. And until then, it is goodbye from two cunts and a great guy, and you can decide who is who. Leave a message in the comments. Bye.
Son of a bitch.
Hey, just in time for 420. Let's fucking go.
So it is, yeah. That's an appropriate way to end it. Set in Australia.
Groceries. I am bringing in groceries. And I got kicked out because I shut the tablet off.
What a grocery way for Lazy to go out. Vegetable interruptus.
Oh, shit. I enjoyed the card.
I didn't.
No one asked you, Dave.
I guess my dangerous Dakota daiquiris really are dangerous. So I had a couple of those.
Not bad, but not good.
Yeah.
Sorry. Not sorry.